Go ahead and get going. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Tipple's Wine of the Week virtual wine tasting with Elizabeth and Jeff Vaudrey of Tipple's Brews and Wines, Gainesville, Florida, with some of the best people in the world as our customers. And the best of the best is with us every Tuesday.
True.
Right?
Yep.
A little butt kiss to start.
No, that's fine. It's going to be funny if Julie watches this and sees that she wasn't here.
Oh, yeah. Well, she deserves it. She skipped.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Well, this week, this is what I like to call our California Hug Week, right? We run around the world. We're drinking Armenian wine, and now we're going to come back to our comfort zone. But it really is it's a delicious wine, great story, totally worth drinking. It's not just there's California, right? No, I like to do something a little different with all of my wines. And I think you have to work that much harder when you're drinking something maybe, people have had Napa Cabernet Sauvignon before. So this week, we are going to drink, if you'll pull up the slide, the Band of Vintners Cabernet Sauvignon from that famous Napa Valley, California. The wine ratings in this guy, Robert Parker, 92, Willy Wong, 91. Food pairings, I was teasing last week, so I put,
Sorry. I was trying to move the people, and it just clicked to the next one. All right, there we go.
There we go. Food pairings, if I have to tell you by now, you haven't been paying attention. But I will tell you a few just, I like to look up a few original ideas if I can. So how about port wine braised short ribs?
Ooh, yeah.
Right? Miso roasted eggplant. Green lentil curry.
Never had that. Sounds intriguing.
Right. And then, steak.
Any cut of steak.
Any cut of steak. All right. So
what about like ostrich?
Yes, ostrich would definitely go with
it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Ostrich, venison. Okay. I do mushrooms a lot, but obviously mushrooms would go with it. Mm-hmm. And tofu, like done the proper way.
Ask you. Yeah. So not done how we tried to do it that one time.
Yeah, tofu done well. I know it can be done well. Okay. It hasn't been done well by me yet. No. All right. If you've not already done so, it's that time to pop open that bottle. Pour yourself a glass. I gave our bottle a light chill to bring it down to around 60 degrees. So we're going to start there, and it'll warm up into our 70 some odd degree room temperature as we go. I give it a nice hard splash as I go in there. That'll start aerating the wine. I did let it stay in the refrigerator open for that 30 minutes to kind of try and give it a head start. It is it's a 2018, so it's got 4 years in. But Napa Cabs are big wines, so they can definitely handle a little and take an extra breath before you get into it.
Sure.
Look at that pretty color. Mm-hmm. You see it right away. Yeah. That purpley garnet combo.
I thought you weren't allowed to say garnet. In this town.
You just
can't say it.
That's true. By the way, when I said pop open, I know I saw a couple of texts in the Facebook Messenger group about the cork being obstinate on this. It's a Bordeaux style cork in a Bordeaux style bottle. Mm-hmm. The longer cork is helpful for aging.
I was just going to ask, why does it have a longer cork?
The longer cork is for aging. Okay. It helps keep the wine that much farther away from the air, right? Okay. And but I heard somebody use my trick, which is don't just keep overpowering it. Hang in there, and then it will release. Just leave the pressure on instead of continuing to.
So Brenda's the one that said that.
Brenda said that. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So that made me happy. So all right. So this is listed as a Cabernet Sauvignon, and it is by the definitions of production for the state of California, a Cabernet Sauvignon.
So that's what, 75%?
75% or more, right? This guy is 83% Cabernet Sauvignon, but it is, the rest is a blend. So it's actually more of a Bordeaux blend.
Okay.
Bordeaux left bank, which we'll go into that a little bit. Bordeaux, France, the left bank of the river in Bordeaux tends to be Cabernet dominant red blends. This is very much a Bordeaux styled wine, right? So 83% Cabernet Sauvignon, 14% Merlot, 3% Cabernet Franc. And that's a classic lineup of grapes.
But only 3%, you said?
3%, yes. And these they use the same grapes every year, but the percentages change by small amounts. Okay. Usually only a couple of percentages here. So alcohol content on this guy, 14.5%.
What's I guess the highest ABV we've had are some of our Aussie wines. Like yes, 16 or something.
We had a 16. So this wine, aging potential. It is made ready for consumption when released. So we're dealing with the most recent release in the bottle. So they held it back, you know.
Oh, this is the most recent release.
Yes.
Okay. So they held it until they thought it was ready for consumption. Okay. Right.
Is the minimum I've seen for cab is 2 years.
Okay.
We've got 4 on this, which I appreciate the extra time.
Yeah.
It is ready. It's delicious.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's going to evolve as we drink it, but I'm not drinking it thinking I'm not quite even enjoying it, or I'm having to imagine what I'm going to enjoy. Sure. It's given me some lushness from the start.
But it's 14.5%.
Right.
I feeling some tannins.
Yep.
What's the other thing?
Acid.
Acid.
So would you say this seems like a dried grape, or is there some freshness to some of the...
You're not supposed to quiz me. That's our rule. You don't quiz me. Yes.
All right. So, so I would say that there's a nice combination of some black fruits and some red fruits.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
All right. So while there is some black cherry and blueberry in here, I'm getting some kind of red plumminess as well. So on that redder side, so there is some acidity in here. Now, not particularly, I wouldn't call it a tart wine, but it is not a very, very, you know, dried fig kind of quality, right? So there is some acid in here. So between the three, they could easily hit 10 years in aging on this thing, right?
All right.
You can go an easy 10. Now, at the same time, drinking this, I would say 30. No, I wouldn't go that way. But good, you know, it's a good 10 years.
Okay.
And it's hard enough to reach 10 years and without drinking something.
What is the
delicious.
price point on this?
So this guy is a really nice price point. And it was made for that reason. That's actually part of the story.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's a sub $40 Napa Cab.
Okay. So are there sub $40 bottles that would go 30 years, or most of them are, or all of them are meant to be drunk within like 10?
Usually
15.
within 10. I mean, I'm sure there could be some out there, but it's not ringing. I can't name one off the top of my head. Oh yeah, this one, you know, could do that. Right.
All right.
So, barrel aging 15 months in French oak. So as you're tasting this, and we're about to go into the scents in the tasting notes. If it were American oak, you would be thinking, and you would probably be thinking, oh, toffee and vanilla qualities. So as you're, you know, we now know it's French oak. French oak tends to bring out more spicing, basic baking spice quality. So in this case, I would say, I'll just go ahead and throw it out there since I can't quiz.
I mean, you can quiz them, but they could volunteer to whether they want to answer or not.
But that would be, so that to me, that's the always like the giveaway. You're like, oh, which kind of oak is it? Is it spicy or is it vanilla-y, right? If that is a word, right? So the spicier it is without a bunch of vanilla, it's not that French has no vanilla, but with American, it's going to be more vanilla dominant.
Okay.
And with the French oak, it's more spice dominant. And so that's the giveaway for me that this is French, in addition to the fact that I read it.
Yeah, but when you're doing something like this, like if it were me, I would probably taste it and try and guess everything and then look it up and see, hey, how right was I or whatever.
Actually, I looked at my original tasting notes from when I tasted it from the rep, you know, and I was actually really happy with how they lined up with the descriptions, you know, from the professional ratings and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I will say it.
I mean, I'm impressed that you found your original notes.
I'm very happy with my new system.
Where in the bag were they?
No, it was the new system.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anyway. All right. So let's talk about some of these scents and aromas.
Okay.
All right. So things that I'm getting. I already mentioned a combination of blue and black, basically dark and red fruit, blue and black fruit. It's, you know, dark fruits can also be called blue and black fruits. right? And then the red fruits are going to
Like
be more
blueberries, blackberries.
yeah, blueberries, blackberries, and black cherry, right?
Okay.
And then the red fruits, you're going to get cherry, raspberry, strawberry, that kind
Okay.
of a thing, and plums.
Okay. I was just going to ask where plums fell on that.
So I'm getting really nice that we talked about the fruits. I talked about baking spices. I'm going there. I get a little bit of anise on that, on the palate. So a little, anise and clovey character.
Sure.
And some baker's chocolate. So really dark chocolate. Now we'll go to like the texture. We talked about the tannins. All right. It has nice tannin.
Yeah.
Right. It's definitely there, but it's not overly aggressive already.
I feel like I can feel them more now than when we opened it, or than when you poured it. And it's been what, 10 minutes?
10 minutes. And that makes sense.
Okay.
That will happen. They'll plump up. They'll take a breath.
Okay.
You're right.
All right.
And that in their presence can be more known. One thing I want you guys to notice about this, which is something that reminds me of Bordeaux red wine production, right? Is the tannins are not out of control, rough and really aggressive. They're fairly velvety, though persistent, right? So their presence is not hard to detect, but they're not aggressive and prickly. They're kind of rounded, right?
Yeah, they feel grippy.
Right.
But
here's the other thing is take a sip and really chew the wine and consider how there's a balance between the tannin, the fruit, the spice, so barrel, and the acid, and how they're all kind of in balance. There's no thing jumping out as the thing, and then the other things are secondary.
Yeah.
It's kind of a real nice balanced, the phrase I was looking for didn't come, but
well, it's interesting because as you were talking about that, I was thinking, as we talk about how like this is an art form, I was thinking about the difference between like if something jumps out, like if you're thinking like music, like there's no soloists in it. It's all like a chorus. Sure. Everything is blending together, and not one thing that's really overpowering anything else.
Right, and that is. To me, that is that French style. They believe in that balance across the board, right? Because to me, I'm getting as much, as much as you're getting fruit in there, you've got that dark chocolate in there. So you're getting some qualities from the soil, right? And then you're also getting the qualities from the barrel, the spice.
Where that dark chocolate taste comes? It's from the terroir? It
comes, through the grape.
Okay.
And it's, it's definitely a function of the grape and the terroir working together.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So, anyway, those are my thoughts on there. What do you guys, anyone have any thoughts you wanted to share? Let me see. Yeah.
So Jerry, I don't know if you want your chat to be going just directly to us or to the group.
I just designed it to go to you this time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right,
so he's saying uniformity. Is that the word you were looking for?
Yeah. I was thinking package deal. But really was a poor.
That's more than one word.
It was a poor metaphor anyway. So it's all right. Not everything has to be a winner, right?
Okay. I like the uniformity.
Uniformity. Yes, it is.
What?
So
Jeff, I have a question.
Yes.
So you were saying that the tannins aren't grippy. So when I first tasted this wine, I felt like it was thin. Like it was like almost watery.
I would agree.
Is that like,
so actually I would agree with my first taste. I felt like it was thin too.
Yeah.
I feel like it has now. I feel like it's much grippier than it was, and like thicker almost than it was. But when I took my first taste too, I felt like I had a strong taste, but that it felt thin.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
it just sort of washed away real easy. Like it was.
Yeah.
So
what kind of property of the wine is that?
That's part of the grapes, and these grapes have what we call a medium body.
Okay.
Right. So and that is more French in styling as well.
Okay.
So it's a medium bodied, it's that medium size, and they can grow them to be different, right? They can choose grapes that will be heavier bodied. Now those heavier bodied grapes tend to be fruitier.
Okay.
So here they're making choices to get more of those, more of that chocolate and earthy flavors in there. They're choosing grapes that are then going to have a different level of ripeness.
Okay.
And so then they'll get a different level of body on there. So the base body on this is a medium body grape. The tannins are kind of medium for Cabernet Sauvignon. And that was by choice for what they were trying to create, which is much more common to the French style. I mean, the French, you'll get some cabs that you can see through from France, right?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Not, you know, many of them you can't, but some of them they'll actually go so light that you can see through them. You know, and so that is a good question. I'm glad you brought that up because that is part of the texture that I hadn't covered.
I do feel though like it's a stupid word, but thickened up. Like I feel like it, like I don't know.
Well,
it tastes heavier now than when I first tasted it.
So that's that would be a play on structure, right? So
Okay.
when they talk about structure, I said texture, structure, kind of a similar thing, right? Because the tannins have plumped up with some taking a breath. So now the tannins are creating a bit more structure to the wine.
It's the difference in the tannins that we're feeling.
Right.
Okay.
The body is going to stay the same no matter what.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But those tannins are becoming a little bigger. And so they're giving you a bigger textural feel on your mouth. So it doesn't feel quite as medium bodied.
Yeah.
You might be feeling like it's maybe edging toward medium plus, but it is very much the difference between this and a lot of other cabs that you would have out of Napa is this one is medium bodied as opposed to heavy bodied.
Okay.
And like when we were talking about those big Shiraz from Australia,
Right.
a lot of those, like the 16%ers, don't have a ton of tannin, but they have a big heavy body and they have that 16% because they were so ripe.
Okay.
And so the very, you know, the viscosity of the medium is thicker.
Okay.
As opposed to these grapes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And that is a choice, and it's a choice in how they grow, where they grow, and what they're buying. In this case, they're buying the grapes. So.
And but I do feel like the tannins are grippy now. It's just that they're not sharp.
Right.
Like I feel like they're rounded, but they kind of grip, and I can feel it for a little bit. But I don't feel like they're like, I always say grippy versus bitey, but which I know is not a good term.
No, grippy is a very common term.
Is bitey?
Bitey. Not as much, but you know, like prickly or hard edged, and these are not hard edged. They're
no, I can feel that they're round.
They're assertive, but they're round, right? And I'll tell you now that we've had a little more time out of the bottle, I would add on to my flavor a bit of a tobacco leaf kind of thing, because it's got a little bit of that tobacco leaf. It's because it has a bit of an herby character, but I can't think of another herb, but really like a tobacco leaf.
I have no idea what that tastes like.
Yeah, well. There you go.
I mean,
it tastes like that.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about the bottle itself.
Oh, I thought you were offering me more. I was like, oh.
Well, obviously you like it.
Thank you. Yes.
There you go. Okay. Let's go to the slide.
Oh.
Next slide. All right, here we go. Let's talk about the bottle. All right. So you're in a wine store. No one's around to help you. That's what this part is about, right? What can you pull off of this label? What would I pull off the label if I was just walking around a wine store in a random city and no one was helping? Well, we look on the label right at the very top. It says Napa Valley. I'm like, well, hello. All right, that's a great intro. Napa Valley certainly has a wonderful reputation.
A specific area of California.
Right. Okay. And a prestigious area that's well known.
All right, true.
So Band of Vintners, okay, well, that's an interesting name. Not sure what that would mean at this point, right? Cabernet Sauvignon, all right. So I say, okay, that's a Cabernet. I like Cabernet. That's letting me in there. 2018 harvest, so it is a vintage wine, which most are, but some are not. So we go over on the back, and we see Band of Vintners. And you see it gives you a little story about the winemakers, how they all came together. This is the name of all the band's name is on here. Seven gentlemen that all came together, and which we'll talk more about it later. So I won't even go that much into it right now, but they give a little bit of the story that it's a group of Napa Valley insiders drinking great wine together. And they thought, wouldn't it be great if we could make one that was outstanding and French in style, but was something more affordable? That's that's the nugget that started the whole.
That was there.
Yep.
their goal.
Right. So then we get down here, you know, we've got the bottle, but over here in the bottom left corner above the government warning, we have cellared and bottled by Band of Vintners, right? So we see there, this is not, it's not a state wine, right? So they didn't grow the grapes.
Okay.
Cellared and bottled.
But if I'm looking at all of these people that are working together,
right,
then I'm not going to think that it's a state grown, because I'm looking at it thinking, well, they don't all own it together. Well, some, I guess you could have a consortium of people that own one.
They could, right?
Sure.
Right. And once again, these are all things that just are, and I've said it before, purchasing grapes is not a problem. It's the norm and a large amount of what comes out of France.
Okay.
So it is not a bad thing. It just is a thing, right? So they're not growing their own grapes, cellared and bottled by. So okay, so they're getting the wine. It doesn't say vinted, so they may be buying barrels that are fermented already.
Okay.
And then blending them themselves. So the cellaring is likely to be that they're getting wine that they probably directed exactly how they want it made.
Okay.
But at a different facility, and then they're blending it and bottling it on their facility.
But based on what you told us before, like if I'm just blindly walking through a wine store, I'm actually probably not going to buy this one then, because of it just saying that. Because it's not, you know, like, because I'm thinking, well, I don't know if they have control of all of it. Actually, for me, I would just take a picture of it and send it to you and say, hey, I like the line drawing on the front of this bottle a lot, and it continues on at the back. So the artwork is great. And I love that they continued that design onto the back to identify each of these people. Should I buy this or not? So that's what I would do. But honestly, if I'm just walking through and I can't get to you for some reason, then I'm thinking, I don't know enough.
You might go to an estate one if it was in the same price point, right? Because they've got a little more direct control.
Yeah, because I just don't know enough about it, and that's why I'm looking forward to seeing the story, because
because
the label, I just
because then you look at it and like if you look at if this collection of gentlemen here that they really know their stuff, if you knew that, then you would know this one. So let's label this guy let's rate the label as worthy of further discussion, and getting an expert involved would be very helpful, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So,
although I do very much like the label. I like the line drawing on the front. It's continuous line drawing. I think it's great. I think it's great that all the bottles are a little bit different and that they continue that on the back. So kudos to the graphic artists that worked on that.
Right. Yeah, it's good. And then you would see this and you'd also see a rating saying, it's got 92 points.
True.
Is that a good price point for that?
Plus, I would be like, okay, Napa Cab.
Right. Yeah, right. So you're going to be inclined. So anyway, it's going to be a little give and take. There's no negatives on here, but there's more question marks.
Right. I think, like you said, the thing is, looking at it for me, I'm then going to reach out to an expert and say, okay, what does all this mean? Because it's not giving me specifics enough to know.
Right. Okay.
What does that mean? Do you want me to move on to
Let's move on.
Or okay.
Yeah. All right, Cabernet Sauvignon. So here we are, the king of grapes, right?
I feel like this is much darker than that.
It is, yeah, but you know that's going to be an internet picture, so
no,
but
I know,
a lot of times they
saying, hello, Monty.
Right. So, and you're right, and it doesn't have to be this dark, but many of them are.
I do love the color.
That one does look a bit more like what you would get out of Bordeaux. Remember, I said you can see through it often.
Right.
This looks a lot more like what you get out of California with that extra intensity of the sun.
Okay.
So, origin of Cabernet Sauvignon, southwestern France, around Bordeaux. It was an accidental.
Wait, it's Cab Franc, and it's a white one. I don't remember which the white grape
It's in the
is.
name.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So take the name Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
Sauvignon's the
Sauvignon
second.
Blanc?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There you go. So yes, it is an accidental crossbreed between Cabernet Franc, red grape, and Sauvignon Blanc, a white grape.
So they were like growing them in fields next to one another, and all of a sudden this this
other one popped up,
and then they were like, this doesn't taste the same.
No, in fact, it tastes so good. This happened during the 1600s sometime.
Okay.
Right. So it's more intense than the red grape originator, parent grape, right? So it's even more intense. of color and flavor and tannin than Cabernet Franc is. Even though it's crossed with a white, it didn't thin it, it intensified it, which is, I was found very interesting. It is now the most popular grape in the world, period. Not just most popular red, it is the most popular grape.
Most popular, period.
Here's a fun one, though. It was dethroned for a short time in the 1990s. It's retained, it's regained its spot.
Okay.
It was dethroned for a short time in the 1990s. Let's pop back to everyone else.
Okay, are we gonna
guesses? We're gonna take the guesses. What grape temporarily dethroned Cabernet Sauvignon?
No searching, just
in the 1990s. You can like throw, you can say it or throw it in the chat box, whichever way you guys want to go.
Merlot.
Okay, Merlot.
Merlot is a good one.
Zinfandel.
We got a Zinfandel as a guess.
Pinot.
Pinot Noir. Okay. Another Pinot Noir. All right. Anyone else?
All right.
Going. All right. The answer is Merlot. Merlot took over in the 90s. And
that's shocking, because when did Sideways come out?
Well, that was about that thing when everyone was making a Merlot. When
you were saying I'm not drinking the Merlot because everyone was
making it, and they grew too much of it too quickly. They weren't growing high quality Merlot, and it just became a big fruity, flabby mess if you're not growing it correctly. Right. And that's why it got the reputation and then collapsed. And they were tearing out all the Merlot, and they've been putting in Cabernet Sauvignon ever since.
Merlot's been trying to rebuild its reputation since.
Merlot has gotten so much better, right? So, all right, let's go back to the slides, please.
And Brenda was saying she was thinking the movie made Pinot go crazy.
Oh, right.
I'm sure it did. That and Cab.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it just destroyed Merlot. I mean, it just hammered it.
I'm sure everybody growing Merlot was like, Paul Giamatti.
Right. Every time he goes to a vineyard, get out of here.
Exactly.
Even like Markham, who's known for their Merlot. You can see that they have like wanted posters of Giamatti.
I just imagine like from Seinfeld when they go Newman, it's that kind of same thing.
I like it. Giamatti.
Giamatti. Okay. You would like for me to share again?
Next one, please. All right. Flavor profile: black cherry, black currant, so very dark grape, right? Cedar, baking spices, and graphite. I've seen a lot of times that graphite can taste just like that, that pencil lead smell, but on the palate. And it expresses itself as that kind of baker's chocolate that we're getting tonight. Okay. Those are related.
Okay.
They come from the same source, kind of thing. All right.
Next.
So dryness, dry, full-bodied. Yes, we're actually at medium-bodied, especially for a cab tonight. So a little different, right? Medium to high tannin, sure. Medium acidity, yeah, we're at medium. And alcohol content, we're toward the upper end. It's not a very wide threshold, but
it's not a large range.
Yes, that would be.
That's what that's called.
Okay, thank you. He's next. All right, so this origin, I figure since we talked about it, it's from, here's Bordeaux within France, right along the river here. And the left bank is where Cabernet Sauvignon was born.
I do think it's very cool that we know all the way back to the 1600s when this grape first originated.
Right. Oh, by the way, it was not discovered that was the case until 1996 with DNA testing.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, which is the same thing that happened with Chile, where they thought they were growing Merlot, and it turned out they were drinking Carmenere. They didn't find out until 1996 with DNA testing. They were blowing everyone's mind when DNA came from testing.
I know, I'm sure.
So where is Cabernet Sauvignon grown? Right. So France is number 1. Chile, number 2. United States, number 3.
Really close.
It's really, really close. Yeah. And so anyway, Australia, Spain, China. I have had Chinese Cabernet Sauvignon.
How is it?
Well, there's a lot that I hear from Jerry is really not very good.
Okay.
But the one I had was a high end, and it was quite good.
I mean, if it got all the way here.
Yeah, it was from the foothills of the Himalayas. But it was very expensive. So it was very tasty.
Right.
But the problem was, I was like, oh, this would be a really good $25 bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. And it was 40, you know, so it's like,
that's too big of a percentage.
It was a big jump. It wasn't a few bucks.
I think this is the most balanced pie chart. I hesitate to call it a pie chart since you're not seeing the middle, but
Everybody wants to get in on that Cabernet action.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the place. And I think that's probably the most interesting thing you can pull out of this. It's everywhere, old world and new world.
Yeah.
Everyone's all over Cabernet Sauvignon, and it came about by accident.
No, that's great. What is it like? Either French fries or potato chips. One of them was a complete accident too, and they're both fantastic. So there you go.
There you go. We have a chat.
We do. Chinese cab was not bad. The most expensive one was less than $20 in China. Yeah,
that makes sense.
I believe it. In China.
Yeah, they have the ability to grow really good wine. I mean, they have the Himalayas, so they have mountains to work with. So, next one. There we go. All right, anatomy of a grape. So we're dealing with a thicker skin and a more intense peripheral zone on here, and that is where the dominant characteristics of this grape come from, rather than it's less balanced than some of the others that deal with a lot more intensity from the acid on the inside. So the tannins come from the skin. They could come from the seeds if you do it wrong. Right. If you crush the grapes too roughly, you will crack the seeds open. And those tannins are really astringent and rough.
Oh, okay.
And they get almost like a Band-Aid smell quality to them. And it's just not, it's not pleasant. So you have to watch out with that. So they do kind of a gentle press, and everyone talks about with those people that talk about how they press their grapes, they'll get very much into it because it really is important.
Oh no,
you can't just stick it in there with a hydraulic press and like blam. You know.
Do they have arsenic in them like apple seeds do?
I don't know.
Okay, because that would be even more important than to avoid that. Then.
Yes. Next one, please.
Okay.
All right. So where in the world are we?
Let me minimize this
today. We are here, right in the middle of the growing latitudes in the Northern Hemisphere to the far western edge. Good old USA wine regions. So here we are, here in the northern part of California. We're in Napa Valley, right? That was the second American viticultural area designated in our country. Because the first one was...
Well, I know.
Do you guys remember?
Missouri.
That's right. Good old Missouri, the heartland of winemaking for this nation.
Well, it was the first.
It was the first. Hey, you know what? One day I'll have to drink some Missouri wine.
You keep saying that. Keep threatening that.
All right, here we are. North Coast, California. California, you can see they grow grapes all over. I mean, it's kind of like Spain that way, where I show the Spanish map and I was like, they can grow grapes everywhere. Just throw seeds on the ground and you're in the business. So they've got a ton of areas, but special areas over toward the coast generally get a little more character, or as you get into the mountains, they're beginning this year, foothills are starting to make some really nice wines as well. This is normally a little more ripe because it's very warm there. They don't cool down in the evening to lengthen the growing season. So the grapes, ripen quickly. So usually cheaper wines here, more of a table wine production area. All right, moving on in. So here we are in Napa here. And within Napa. All right, so one of my dream tastings would be to do a wine tasting of each individual district, sub-district. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
It'd be very expensive, but it would be very fun. This is a cuvee of multiple areas. It's a combination of valley floor, which is riper, and some of the foothill areas.
You want to explain cuvee, the term?
Cuvee. So cuvee means blend, literally, but it can mean blending different ways, right? A cuvee can be multiple different grapes blended together, right? Which is like a red blend. It can be used that way. It usually isn't. It usually a cuvee means a mixture of different locations. So it could be different grapes from different locations But once again, most commonly what I've seen it is the same grape from different locations blended together.
Okay.
Mhm. Napa Valley, here it is. Warm, dry climate, very consistent year to year. Long, dry growing season that allows them to leave the grapes on the vines a long time to gain extra character over time from the weather, from the soil, you know, the minerality in the soil slowly coming up and getting into those. This is a high mineral content soil. It dries out very quickly. And then it cools down at night very quickly because you've got the Pacific Ocean due west.
Right.
And it really, so you've got a big drop in temperature to kind of, so over the day they begin ripening and then they stop and it put them on, and that way they won't over ripen and they can stay on the vine longer. Right. Clay-based soils, like I said, low organic matter. They struggle, but they've got incredible amounts of minerals to kind of add character.
Right.
So you don't end up with just fruit juice.
No, and I think it's worth saying again,
juice.
every once in a while, we just have to mention that grapevines do best when they struggle. You want them to struggle.
You want them to struggle.
You want to plant them in an area where you would think nothing can grow here.
Right.
That's where grapevines like to grow.
That is. They because they're afraid they're going to die, so they put more effort into creating better grapes to reproduce and move to a better area. We're like, okay, a bird will eat this, take it to a place where I can grow in some fertile soil, and humans just say no.
So see, now I feel badly for the grapevine. It's just thinking it's gonna die the whole time.
It's just in a little bit of an emergency mode, you know. They're just saving up for the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Next,
please.
All right.
So just a little more wonderful Napa Valley. And this gives a nice view because we're kind of on one end of it, looking at the, you know, the valley floor as it rolls down into the, you know, on the back, and then it goes back up on the other side. So
is the Pacific Ocean is like behind us as we're looking toward this?
I don't know which direction it is, but because they look kind of similar, like, you know,
sure,
it's a valley. They're both going to have edges. So the Pacific Ocean is behind one of them, either behind us or behind the other side. I don't know. We haven't checked.
Let's see. Where's the line?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like, at what point is it like, would you look, and I wouldn't know this, you know, clearly, but would somebody look at land and soil composition and say, this is beyond growing anything here, or saying, you know what, like, the struggle is real and we could make a wine, you know? So I'm just curious, like, how do you know? How would somebody know? Is it a soil analysis? Is it other things, you know? But I'm curious.
Yeah, there's a lot of soil analysis involved. I mean, there are experts that look at these things, and it's not just, will it grow grapes? It will be, will it grow this kind of grape that I want? Or will I change my plans and grow the one that's appropriate to the area? I mean, these guys, you know, there are experts that really get into it.
It's not a guessing game. You're definitely analyzing the soil to see what nutrients are in it or not in it.
Right. Okay. Oh, absolutely. And then, you know, you're looking at, you know, is there water nearby so I can irrigate? You know, in some countries like France, you're not even allowed to irrigate. It has to be all dry farmed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there are all kinds of things involved. It's a big
upon the weather in France.
Oh, completely. That's why they're so worried about, you know, and they're talking about maybe changing. But with the changes in weather, it's a big deal because they pride themselves on, we're presenting to you what this year gave us, right?
Okay.
And
right.
Rather than, like, you know, other countries kind of like, oh, we're looking for consistency and we might blend a little from here. Like they change the blend here a little bit every year to create a consistent wine.
Okay.
You know, where they're going to do that a little bit in France, but they try to stick much more with, oh, this is what this year gave.
So
that you can-
like we would expect in France, each vintage may be very, very different. Like if you're looking for, I want this taste, maybe you need to try and stick with that vintage of it. Whereas maybe in, well, this one specifically, it's from vintage to vintage, they're working toward consistency, not just expressing what this year is, because what you're saying to me sounds like France really wants each vintage to express the characteristics of that year.
That's one of the things they want to express. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they want to make an amazing wine.
Saying like, that's why people will go, oh, the 83 was this, or the
83 Lafitte.
Right. Well, yeah, because you're thinking of Friends, but where she was like, yeah, but he's right. This was crap, whatever. It depends on the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Paul.
Hey, yeah. Follow up to Linda's question. I'm going to lower my hand now. So as the climate changes, does that mean that Florida is going to start growing some really good grapes? Because the soil hasn't changed, just the climate has.
But we're getting more jungly.
Right. Yeah. We're moving in the wrong direction because we're getting wetter.
Yeah.
And so the big problem with Florida is the humidity, and the humidity is just staying or getting worse. So, the areas for grape growing need to be lower humidity or else they rot.
If you want to grow bigger reptiles, here's the place.
That's right. That's right. Reptiles and insects. Get on the ground floor.
You thought palmetto bugs were big before. Just wait. Yeah, but it is. I mean, like we were walking last night. It's just like walking through soup. It's just so humid here that, just the rot is a problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
It will rot. No doubt. Okay. Next one, please.
Okay.
All right. So here we have the Band of Vintners Winery.
So this is them. This is them.
This is them. Yep. With looks like with some spouses.
Okay.
So the group is made up of 4 winemakers, 1 master sommelier, and 2 wine executives. They were all friends. They were all drinking. They were drinking amazing French wine. And they said, wouldn't it be wonderful if people could drink something like this more often?
Okay.
And so they said, well, we all have a lot of contacts in Napa Valley. So it just came together and said, let's do this as a group and all come together with each handling our own aspect of it, sourcing, winemaking, the production, and then even the marketing, which depending on which member has come together to create what they were. The point was to make a very French styled, delicious, high level cab, but get it sub 40 so that you could drink it more often.
Sure.
So they are a negociant, right? Somebody who buys their grapes. And let's see here. Talked about that. It's all sustainably farmed fruit.
So do you know though, okay, you're saying they're buying their grapes, but because we're talking about all of these different people that are in the wine industry,
right?
Is it grapes from their vineyards?
Probably some of them are.
Okay.
Right.
So they, to me, it seems like,
if not all,
they have actually a lot more control over it than is reflected on the label.
You're doing the hook back to the label, which I like, right? So yes, the reality is.
Remember when we talked about that before?
Yeah.
We didn't, but.
So very well done. Anyway, good point.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, these guys, 4 of them are winemakers, and I know at least 2 have their own estates. So are they coming only from their estates and they're blended together because they're in different areas? It could just be theirs.
Okay.
It could be also with some local people that they know really well, probably is. But and so also when I was saying it's just cellared and bottled, I said, well, it's because that's this group. But I guarantee you the winemakers are the ones making the wine at their other winery,
right,
and then blending it,
sure,
bringing it together to blend and bottle.
Right.
So when you get the full picture, just like you were saying, you realize, all right, this is not just some group that came in and bought bought juice and put it in with a cool label, and they put a dog on it because everyone loves dogs. Like, this is so far beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So first vintage was 2014. So it has not been going on very long.
No, because we're at 18 with this one.
Yep. So
yeah.
And we have a video with one of the members of the team to watch.
Hi everyone, it's Stéphane Vivier here, speaking from beautiful Napa Valley, and I want to talk to you about the 2017 Band of Vintners Cabernet Sauvignon. So Band of Vintners started in 2014, that's when the auditions started. So it's 7 of us, we are 4 winemakers, a master sommelier, a marketing guru, a vintner, and we joined together a group in 2008, and we're tasting wines from all over the world and having so much fun. And in 2014 we decided to make a Cabernet Sauvignon 100% from Napa Valley at the best quality, best price possible, and it's been a great adventure. So 7 of us, the Band of Vintners, and we armed with a lot of knowledge of the valley, and we're able to source some sustainably farmed incredible Cabernet Sauvignon grapes, a little bit of Cabernet Franc, a little bit of Merlot, and we're making this delicious wine. This is our mission, a mission for delicious Cabernet Sauvignon. So here it is, here you have it, 2017 Band of Vintners Cabernet Sauvignon, all Napa Valley. It's a great deal, it's a delicious wine, it's full of fruit and a soft finish and long, and it's going to pair with a lot of different food, but you can have this as an aperitif as well, and as a Cabernet cocktail, and you're going to love it. Cheers.
I love listening to him because it's also like, I wonder where the French leaning came from, the styling of this wine. But
yeah, I'm just trying to hold on. I'm trying to go forward with it, and it's
nope. Then the next one is the ratings and stuff.
Okay, so I'll stop the share.
Yes. All right. So that is the presentation of where this wine comes from, why it's here, and why it's in our glass. It's a French, really French styled wine.
Yes.
But from
I actually
Napa.
didn't expect an actual Frenchman, I guess, to be like part of this group. I thought it'd be all because they're California based.
Oh, right.
Especially as a French winemaker, I figured they'd stay in France, but
no, there's several of them.
No, that's great.
Yeah, he actually, I know him because I know his wines. His winery is Longmeadow Ranch, and they're delicious.
Have we had
good.
those?
We haven't had it as a group, but we've had them in the store.
Sounds like we should have them as a group.
Yeah, they're quite good.
Okay.
So anyway, all right. So any thoughts before we go into discussing, my whole spiel on ratings?
Thoughts about the taste, the aroma, pairings, questions, any of that?
All right.
Easy to drink.
Yeah, right. It is. And I like that he mentioned that because he said, it'll pair well with food. He said, or as an aperitif.
Right.
Meaning, all right, drink it before, just drink it. Right.
Right.
And this is
a cab.
Right.
So.
This is a Cabernet Sauvignon that is definitely something that you can just drink without food. You can definitely drink it with food, it's made for that flexibility. It's delicious, flavorful, but like I said, it doesn't have these huge tannins that are just gripping your palate and making you think, dear Lord, I need food with this, or big acid that makes you think, dear Lord, I need some food with this. Right. This guy's ready to go.
Yeah, no, it's a nice bottle, just drink with or without food.
Right. And that's what I was saying. Yeah. Can it hang out up to 10 years? Yeah. I mean, absolutely it can, because it's a nice glass of wine, but it's delicious right now. It's ready to go. And that was the point.
I do like that they held it until they felt like it was ready to go. Like they held it so that it wasn't wound up tight anymore, before releasing it.
And I think that plays into what he was saying. He wanted a softer Cabernet Sauvignon that would be easy to enjoy right away.
Yeah. I felt like Paul was typing something, but nothing ever came through.
Okay. All right. So ratings.
All right. You want me to share?
Yes, please. The ratings. So, like I say, the wine scores are very skewed with how they're used in the world, right? We always talk about that. You can look at these, and these make sense. And I kind of wish a lot more people, went by them. If you said, hey, if you had a wine that you're like, hey, that's a $17 84 point wine, and everyone said, oh, that makes sense. It's a good, solid, well-made wine, $17. So that makes sense. But they don't do that, right? They'll hide that rating unless they have like an 89 or a 90, which is ridiculous because you shouldn't only have outstanding wines out there, right? You should also, there's plenty of very good wines at those other prices. And if somebody had a very good wine, it shouldn't be a shame, right? An 88 is a very good wine. That's a good thing to have. The reality is, if it's a very good wine, they give it a 90, right?
But we've had an 88 that we really like.
Right? Yeah. So, and the other thing is, the reality is, none of this matters if you like the wine,
right?
And that really is. So we're playing around with this, and this is only because as you go around and you shop, it almost goes back to the label discussion, right? Where points should not make your decision. Points should just give you it's another piece of the puzzle. Like, okay, I don't know this wine.
Right.
It's got some high points. Okay. That's a positive step. Somebody liked it.
Right.
Maybe I'll like it, but don't take it as gospel. And you also don't have to say, oh, it really wasn't my wine. So it really wasn't my wine. So I'm wrong. Like, it's okay for you not to like a 94.1.
Sure.
But at the same time, also when assessing it, assess whether it's your wine, your style, or whether it's actually poorly made.
Right.
There's a difference there.
Right.
So that's one of the things we see that in the beer side all the time, where people review things and they'll be like, I never like IPAs. I had this one. I didn't like it either. I give it 1 star, but it's a great IPA. I'm like, you knew you didn't like IPAs.
Okay, I wrote that, and you need to stop criticizing me for that.
That happens all the time on the rating things. We're like, what?
I'm just hearing about it, Jeff.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
No, that would be my opinion, which is why I'm not rating IPAs. I mean,
right. And that's the thing. It's like,
honestly.
look, if you don't like IPAs, don't rate the IPA, right? Even if I encourage you to try IPAs,
right?
But like, don't go on Untapped and rate it a terrible number because you know you don't like IPAs.
Right. No, I'm never going to rate an IPA because I'm never going to like an IPA. I'm sorry. But we have very different opinions about some sours, especially because I love sours, and the tartar the better for me. And you're always like, really? It's so tart.
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate sours.
Right.
Like, and that is my thing. And that's what I call it. It's like, there are some wines, there are some beers, right, that I can appreciate how well it was made and what they were doing, and did they match the style and what they were going for. Right. And I can separate that from my own personal enjoyment. But in my total net score,
right,
I would still factor in my enjoyment level. That's okay. But putting it out there, if I were to do it for you guys, for example, and say, I had this beer, it's not my favorite style, but did it match up to what it was supposed to be? I could still give it a high rating. Sure. Because it was what it was supposed to be.
Whereas since I'm not a professional, I don't even have to taste the ones I don't like.
Well, there you go. Fair enough. Okay, so bearing that in mind, and that this guy's in a 90+ point echelon,
right?
We're dealing with things that I would consider as I look at it. Obviously, did I enjoy it as a Cabernet Sauvignon? Did I enjoy it for a sub 40 category, and decently sub 40, by the way, Napa Valley? So, because Napa Valley grapes get up in there in the 50s like that, let alone 300, 500, 1,000,
Right.
So all Napa juice, sub 40, has an effect, right? It's a shade of what to look at. And did I enjoy it? And did it give me, did I think this is a cab that I would enjoy? And did it have some interesting qualities? Was there something of interest to the wine that makes it a little more unique in a positive way?
So you can feel free to go ahead and start.
Go ahead and throw them in there
in the chat box. We have a 92.6.
That's very precise for you.
It is. I love that. Okay, so hold on. We're going a little.
Wow, they're coming in hard and fast.
So there we go. Okay, Paul, 88.5. Had it with a delicious steak and corn on the cob.
Okay.
I did on the grill. was totes amazeballs. You are too old to say that, Paul. I'm sorry to say, but 89 to 90, all three of them.
Okay.
John, Laura, Linda. Brenda is separate this week. Jerry is a 92. We've got Harriet at a 91.
Okay.
Linda at an 89. Brenda at a 90.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. So your thoughts?
I would do Jason and Jen. It's actually very, very high for them.
Yeah, that's
87.
right. That's right.
Yes. I'm sorry I commented that, but I mean, I'm always shocked when you're like in the range.
That's right.
So for me, I would be a 90.5.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's pretty much, I'm like 89, 90. I'm right there.
Yeah.
On mine. I call it right pushing that echelon. It is very tasty. It's very easy to enjoy.
Right.
I like the flexibility.
Yeah.
And then for the price point and what I'm getting out of it, because I've had some entry level Napas that I would give 85s. I'm not an automatic on this. I don't carry those wines because I drink them first. Yeah. But I've had entry level Napa can produce some really disappointing wines, right? If I've had it, right? This is not one of them. So, you know, I'm pushing right up there, 89, 90. I think that's a good glass of wine for, you know, for that price point out of Napa.
I will say that because I agree with Jen, I felt like it was watery at the beginning. Mm-hmm. My rating has changed significantly since the beginning. I feel like as it's opened up, I've gotten more complexity. It's gotten like heavier bodied. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I
agree totally with that. Like if you drink water in between, it kind of goes back.
Yeah, I messed it up. I like to hydrate while I drink.
You made me hydrate and then it went back again. And now it's building up again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't done that. So maybe it's maybe don't cleanse your palate. Maybe continue.
Right. Well, it's a buildup of the tannins, you know, on your palate. Yeah. But that is also a thing. Like we've had I had a $140 bottle of Bordeaux in the store. Mm-hmm. And it was the lighter bodied one. And it was a real kind of hit and miss.
Okay.
This was a prestigious bottle of wine, high rating, like 98 points. Mm-hmm. But even at that, it was still a hit and miss. Because of what, you know, whether you're okay with going with that lighter body or whether you really wanted the heavier body.
Right.
And that's fine to want the heavier body. Yeah. That's okay. Mm-hmm. And that's that 1 or 2 points, right? That you go from an 87 to an 89, 90, you know, like that's that personal preference. If you like heavier body, good. That's fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But is this what they aimed for? Yeah. So I get that.
Yeah, that's where we were, is that when we first opened it up, it seemed very tight. Didn't have a lot of flavor, a lot of fruit, but not a lot of the oak and what you would expect from a cab. But as it's been open longer, it got much more interesting and, you know, complex, but still not what we would think of as a Napa cab. So that's where we ended up. Probably if you had asked us at the beginning of the class where we thought it was, we'd probably been like 85, but then, you know, we got it up to 89, 90, just because it didn't seem to kind of develop more as it was open.
Yeah, right. So they had kind of the same range that I had with it too. As it opened, it
becomes more luscious.
Yeah,
you know, as it gets there, and which is
mm-hmm.
good. Well, I'm glad. All right, so everyone enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a cool bottle of wine. It's nice to get into Napa for 30 some odd bucks and have some quality, you know. And I will say, don't take that for granted. I mean, seeing the Napa on the label does not mean it will be a good cab, right? But this one is a good one. You know, it's a good one, but it is French in styling, so it's very specifically styled. I think, you know.
So what I heard was, when in doubt, text Jeff.
Yep.
Jeff's like, oh God, why'd you say that?
Same look you gave him when he said huge ass tannin.
Wait, the beginning cut out. What about huge ass tannin?
It's the same look you gave him when he used the huge ass tannin language. You're like,
all right.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to thank our sources.
Thank our sources. All right. Wine Folly, always. They're amazing. 750. Wikipedia, Tasting Table, Vacations Made Easy. Band of Vintners, and A Layman's Wine Musings. Yes, that was the French map, one of them. So, all right. So next week,
I'm scared. I'm scared because I think you're going like to a Chard or a white or something. So
next week, we're going to an area we have not gotten to explore yet.
okay.
Brand new area,
Okay.
but closer than you might think.
Missouri.
We're going to New York.
Really?
The Finger Lakes. Yes. All right.
Ah.
So Herman J. Weimer, right?
Okay.
German winemaker.
Yeah.
He is the wine enthusiast winemaker of the year this year.
Oh, wow.
So I've been wanting to, so the Finger Lakes are really gaining popularity and some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, some of it's just okay, some of it's good, but they tend to be really, really expensive because they're all small production.
Yeah.
So this guy was a great combination. He had the accolades. So I'm like, okay, I've got to take a look. I brought the wines in and tasted them. They're delicious.
Okay.
They're good. They're reasonably priced for the quality level, right? And they are small production, and it's the winemaker of the year. So what better time is there to finally explore the Finger Lakes? Is
it 2011 or is it a different vintage?
No, this is a different vintage. That's just the picture I got. There's such a small winery. There were not a lot of pictures, right? So ratings 91. That's James Suckling Wine and Spirits. Meatballs and tomato sauce for food pairing, grilled artichokes, haggis, if you want to go there, No,
I'll do the first two, but
rosemary lamb sliders. How about that?
Well, you will do that.
That's right. So that's what we're doing. It will be a 2-part series.
Oh, so we have 2 wines from the same dude?
Yes, we're going to do the 2-part series and examine, and taste Mr. Weimer's creations.
So this one is a Cab Franc that we're doing next week.
Yes.
Okay. And the following week is...
You will see.
I'm scared. Okay.
They're very delicious.
Okay. All right.
So I hope you guys will join us next week. We're going to go explore the Finger Lakes. I finally found a great combination of quality and price.
We've never done anything East Coast.
No.
So yeah.
They're coming along. I tell you, wines in Virginia, New Jersey, New York.
Virginia too.
Yeah, they are all coming along. North Carolina, North Georgia. I've had one I enjoyed.
Oh, somebody brought you back.
Yeah, yes. John and Laura.
Okay. Yeah, you were saying that you liked it.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there's some really interesting stuff. So anyway, I'm out of wine.
You're out of wine.
I'm out of wine. You're out of wine. This whole meeting's out of wine.
As we get later in the evening, Jeff gets more and more 80s movie references. So there you go.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.